the prop, the armorer was, everything was professional. There's not going to be a live round mixed into anything on else. But yeah, you're right about as many films today are going to be with plastic toys, and they're going to doll them on up. And that's one of the problems, because if it is a scene where combat takes place, one of the things it does irritate me, and I don't have the rank to really raise some cane about this, because it's going to be the A-list actor, actress, or whatever. But let's just say they pick up a BAR, a Browning automatic rifle, and it's made out of plastic. And Brownings, BAR, those are heavy things. You're not going to carry it that way. These things have a kick, and they're hard to. Well, you get used to it. And for example, when they have a Kalashnikov that's made out of plastic, and they'll put the barrel into the ground to use that kind of like a cane. To me, if you're supposed to be a method actor, I mean, that weapon, you sleep with it, you know it, that's going to keep you alive in real life. I mean, this is imagination, but nevertheless, I mean, the way that they'll do things with the props, you say to yourself, well, no wonder this film came out to be so phony.
Oh, yeah. I could just imagine like a AK-47 or M16 or any of those type of guns. You stick the barrel, and use it as a cane to walk around with, and the next moment you're firing it. I could just imagine what that gun would do.
Yeah, well, these are plastic. These are plastic mock-ups, but nevertheless, the whole thing about that is, you say to yourself, well, who, the director, anybody else on the set, you say to yourself, geez Louise, okay, you know what this is? This is just beyond comic book, and so the product, you see the products on the screen, and well, it's lacking.
Yeah, I watched some of those on one of the particular channels on cable, that shows a lot of horror sci-fi movies, and you look at it, and a lot of times, if it isn't sharks flying from the sky, it's these hot babes, wearing too small, of shorts and a tight top, right? Carrying guns like they weigh like a half a pound, when, and then they're holding it like, wow, and they're firing it that way. It's just so comical. The least they should have somebody train them, how a gun actually works, or at least they could fake it, It's just, but again, we're talking about a low budget movie that, the main star takes up most of their, outgo for the whole movie, and then they just, whatever. I mean, I don't know. Especially when you get into the sci-fi ones, like with UFOs and aliens and stuff like that, I'm really into like old movies, the old B movies, where there's aliens and UFOs and stuff like that, and you can see the string on the spaceship, and stuff like that. I just sit back and and I go, wow, they're so bad, they're actually good.
Yeah, some of those films are, there's was a love that was done with it, and even though the special effects aren't that good, that magic of everybody trying to give their best on the screen in front of the camera, and it comes across. And there's some films, B movies that are really good. One modern, well, I guess you want to call it from the modern era, because you're going to be starting from the 1960s onward, with Night of the Living Dead. And you think about that movie that George Romero did, and as far as the blood, they didn't have any blood. It was shot in black and white, so they used Bosco, a form of chocolate syrup, for the blood to fake it that this person is bleeding, so he's going to have some chocolate syrup on him. And that's what they do with Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, and if the guy is really, really good, and we don't have a set on the other side, this can be a B-grade type of movie here, and we've got to do this, well, then he can darken this part of the set, and, the human mind's going to think there's a wall over there, but there's really not. It's just darkness there, and you're going to be able to do your scene in the light on this side of the set. There's many ways of getting around it, and, doing something with a minimal budget and doing something good. But again, too, it all depends upon who the director is and who the company is. And I love film. but I'm very disappointed in a lot of the product that comes out today.
Oh yeah. Another thing I like about these sci-fi movies, sometimes, I used to, I should say, not sometimes, but I used to have a little tablet next to my bed when I was watching them at night, and I would write down all the defects in the movie, the things that from one scene to the next scene, it didn't match, or how many times you saw the microphone hanging above the actor. Oh, there's the microphone. Oh, a couple minutes later, oh, there's the microphone again. There's the microphone again. Oh, this is a good movie.
Yeah, well, I guess that's, Plan 9 from outer space. That's, or anything that Ed Wood did. Yeah, you're going to have those kind of slip-ups in them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or like one scene, here's a guy wearing a T-shirt. The next scene, he's wearing a button-up shirt. And it's all, it's supposed to be the same scene, but they stopped maybe for lunch or stopped for a break, came back, and they changed shirts. And, I'm going, wow, wasn't he just like a half a second ago wearing a T-shirt? Now he's wearing a button-up shirt. How did he have time to put it on in front of us? That's what I like about those type of movies. Now, UFOs, weird things. Now, before we get into like what happened over in Germany during World War II, let's talk about some of the weird things that's happened in your area where the guy went missing. There's been reported UFOs in the area like that.
Okay. Well, as far as the UFO craft here in this area, there's going to be three shapes. Let's say three common shapes. Now, I'll give you describe them. The classic cigar-shaped type of craft, and that has not been seen as much these past, 15 years as much as what it used to be. When it is seen, the cigar craft, it's going to be more of a flattened, not so much sausage-shaped. Now, these cigar-shaped craft were seen a great amount of time, through 1960s on backwards, and every now and then they'd show up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, etc., but fewer and fewer of these craft. Another type of craft that is seen in the area is going to be a spherical-shaped craft, and like a globe, but its surface is going to be like brushed aluminum, kind of like the aluminum that you're going to see on the cowling of the Spirit of St. Louis that's in the museum there at the Smithsonian. That type of bright or brightish type of aluminum shot, kind of like the World War II Mustangs, P-51s that flew over Germany in '45. That type of color scheme. The other craft that is seen, and this is the predominant one nowadays, is going to be a disc-like craft, but it's going to be fading in and out of your sight. In other words, as if it's morphing or coming into this dimension, and it's going to be yellowish orange. Sometime, believe it or not, in the middle of it, a little bit of purple there. You can see. Sometimes there's going to be a black edge around the purple. And so those are the three type of craft, the main ones that we see here in the area. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that it's one race that has different types of craft? Like the Army Air Corps has the B-17, the B-29, the B-26 of World War II, or is it different races that are here observing humanity? Well, the thing about this, about the cigar-shaped craft and the spherical craft, the globe shape, when these things are seen, it's not out in the wilds. Like, for example, one would be crossing up in the air a populated area. Let's say like this spherical brushed aluminum type of craft going over an area where there's population, where there's houses, ranches, etc. Now, as far as the cigar-shaped craft, they are seen, like on the periphery, if I'm using that word the right way, let's say of old Route 66 or I-25. In other words, they're by a major thoroughfare, an artery of commerce. Now, these other craft, the disc-shaped that have the different lights, they're seen in secluded areas, out in wilderness areas here. So one has to ask, what does that mean? Are some of these craft, are they looking for something, or, sci-fi, we can do the sci-fi special effects, are they looking for someone or some people? I mean, why would they go on over a populated area, or why would one hover off in the distance of a major interstate, or back in the 60s off of old Route 66, which is now I-25, or, we have I-285, etc. here. So that, is food for thought.
Well, hey, you might just said the right word, Alan, food. No, seriously, a lot, I get a lot, this a whole month we're talking about UFOs. But, during the past year, I've talked to quite a few different people on UFOs, guests and stuff like that. I hate to say this. I get some people, it'll call up on my show, and they'll say aliens are friendly, caring. The Greys are friendly, caring. They give off orbs. They're lovable. And and they want to help mankind. I don't know if that's true or not. And here's my whole thought about it. Okay? And I mentioned this the other night. And I have to put my cigar out. I started smoking again. Bad to do. No. What I look at, we grew up, I don't know how old you are, but I grew up like with Donna Reed show, Father Knows Best, Leave It to Beaver. Hey, Beav. And he actually listens to my show occasionally. Anyway, we grew up in that type of generation where everybody knew everybody down the block, both sides of the street. Everybody was friendly with everybody. If somebody had a problem, you went over and helped them. If somebody, lost their job, you'd help them with food or whatever. And people were really caring. And then the late 60s, all that started changing. And then the 70s and 80s and 90s, and now people don't even know their neighbor next door. If they have an apartment, 3/4 of the people on one, I bet they don't even know who their neighbor is above them, next to them, or below them. And people don't want to. They're antisociable now compared to what they were back in the late 50s and early 60s. Now, you take a species of a race of aliens or whatever, right, that are very far advanced. They'd have to be to get here, number one. They won't have the humanity we had. And we already lost, like I just mentioned, a lot since the 50s to now. Just think, they're not going to look at us as maybe a friendly people. They're going to look at all the bad things we do. They're going to look how we take care of each other. And you know what? We could be no more than that insect. When you get out of your house and you start walking to your car in the morning, you're killing thousands of insects. Do you care? Does that thought go in your mind? Not a bit. Now, they can look at us as the same way. That, they're here to basically study us. Are they here to maybe help us? I don't think so. Maybe there's somebody, if they were to help us, they would have already really been helping us. So at this point, they're pretty much leaving us alone. Other than, the cattle mutilations, the people that have been vanished and then the bodies have returned where they've been mutilated. This is bad as, the cows or the sheep that have been, with laser precision, having their sex glands, their heart removed, all this weird stuff. So it tells me, they are experimenting on humans just as much as they do on cattle. So that tells you pretty much what they think of us. And then you go into the national forest, which I mentioned before. 14,000 people. This is going back 4 years ago, but as of 4 years ago, there was over 14,000 some people gone into our national forest. Now, I'm not talking about Canada. This is the United States alone. It never came back. Now, some of them fell off a cliff. Some maybe got whooshed down a river, but there's some people you can't account for what happened to them. Then, how about the guy goes and tells his girlfriend or wife, hey, I'm going for a ride. I'll be back in a couple hours. Or the wife says to their husband, I'm going out to get my hair done. Never come back. No trace of them.
Right. Yeah. The